What? What? What do you mean we don't have a camera? You gave the camera to the great Lord Cthulhu? What is fucking wrong with you? What the fuck are you talking about? You are so fucking unprofessional. This is ridiculous. No, you're never getting an interview again. No, listen to me. Listen. No, I do not want to join your fucking cult. What is wrong with you? Fine. Fine. You know what? You know what? I fucking quit. Yeah, fuck you. I quit. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Fuck you. I quit. Fuck you. Go fuck yourself. Fuck you. Fuck! All right, let me clear this stuff out of the way for you.
Josh!
I'm sorry.
Oh my God, Josh, please say you quit.
Okay, you quit.
Josh! What?
That's not what you wanted?
Josh, just be honest with me.
Fine. I masturbate in the shower.
Ah, how is that even possible?
Tonight is a big night. And I know that if we work together as a team, there's nothing this night can throw at us that we can't handle. Because if not, I'm going to take one of those rifles down off the wall and I'm going to just Kurt Cobain it right here in the middle of the dining room. Just boom, blam. And I'll get your attention first, so you're looking.
This is Alex for CUTV. I'm here with Warren P. Sonoda.
You got it.
And Michael Sparaga.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, you nailed it.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right, that interview's over. We're done.
We'll get better than that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for being with us, guys.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
To start off, I'm going to look at my paper a lot because
Yep.
I'm really horrible with memory.
Right.
I'm always interested in how Canadian films get produced, how you guys got the funding for this. I heard you got the funding through a new film program from the CFC.
Comedy Lab, Telefilm, CFC, and Just for Laughs.
How did you have to jump through any hoops? Did you have to send in
This is the
a
hoop
letter?
jumper. You should ask him this question.
How did you go about getting the funding for it?
Well, they were looking for 5 scripts from across Canada to develop in this new lab. They wanted to find a way to make comedies back in Canada, the sort of movies they hadn't been making here since the sort of the glory days of like Meatballs and things like that. And that was just a general call to producers whether or not they had those sort of comedy scripts. Were those scripts really out there? So
it's kind of a new mandate too, because I mean we have such a great history with SCTV and Kids in the Hall, but we've never had a federal mandate to make funny movies made by funny Canadians.
And specifically in our lifetime, like we watched the funniest people in Hollywood and look at them and say like, oh my God, they're Canadian. Like, and
where did they go? Come back, come back.
And we invite them back to get their star on the Walk of Fame. And I always felt like as a writer and producer and him as director, it's like we're looking at that, and we're like, that's depressing.
Yeah.
It's depressing to know that it's like Jim Carrey. It's like, yeah, go Canada. It's like, not go Canada, come back to Canada. You know, and you know, Mike Myers wearing his Toronto Maple Leafs jacket on Letterman and talking about how much they loved it, but they weren't making films here. And this is the federal government saying, maybe if we make the sort of movies they normally star in here, they'll make the films here
I want
and
to
come
get
back.
into that later because you produced a film called Maple Flavor Film.
Yes, very good
which I'm
documentary
very
on the
interested in.
State of the Union in Canada, for sure.
Before that, because you're doing a government-funded film, I was wondering, you know, in the studio system, there's a lot of like studio control, and I was wondering how much creative control you guys had, or was Telefilm like put a beaver, put more hockey stuff?
No, I think they, you know,
No, they was specifically fighting against that. Like it was really once you started to develop it. It's funny that the posters, remember, had the guy with the moose ears, and we were like, oh, is this what we're supposed to be applying with, like more Canadiana?
Yeah,
but
for the Comedy Lab. But once you got, and you know, to dispel a myth about Telefilm, they love movies and they want to make good movies, and it's not so much they're intrusive, they're guiding us, they're helping us, they're making suggestions, and it's always suggestions. They never tell you what to do.
Never.
And especially with Comedy Lab, with the CFC involved and Just for Laughs. I mean, you came out to the boot camp last year to Montreal. We had some great sort of advisors and mentors. Mine was Donald Petrie, who directed Grumpy Old Men and Miss Congeniality, just veteran comedy directors and people helping us. And they no one ever told us what to do. They just gave us the tools to tell the best story.
It was great, and it was the best. I mean, that was what the Comedy. When you say, what is the Comedy Lab? Was it just about getting the films produced? It was really about
Development, really.
Development. It was
Yeah.
mentorship. In fact, the Comedy Lab doesn't produce the films; they develop it, and then it's up to the producers to go out and make the films.
Yeah.
So they're just about bringing in people like Ivan Reitman and Donald Petrie and Eitan Cohen, who's the
yeah.
writer of the new Men in Black movie. Did
Eugene
Tropic Thunder,
Levy
Eugene
talked
Levy.
to us, yeah.
And they just work the
Bringing
script
him
with
back
you.
from Hollywood.
They
Yeah.
were so happy to be back, and
Yeah.
a lot of them, not necessarily all of them were Canadian, but the ones that were Canadian, they had that extra little spring in their step. You know, they really thought this is an initiative.
It's important.
That,
Yeah.
that couldn't bring us back to our country. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, Reitman hasn't made a movie in Canada since Cannibal Girls.
Yeah.
You know, and yet he's, you know, the film festival centers on Reitman Square now. He's very strong roots to Canada. So to have a chance to develop a film with young Canadian filmmakers that sort of follows in the footsteps of maybe what he was doing when he was young, he was really excited.
Yeah, the biggest difference between making music videos and feature films is in feature films you can never cut to the drummer if you're missing a piece. You know, when you get a script like Servitude, and I read it, and you know, Michael, I've known Michael for years, and I know that he's a very talented writer. But when I read it, I'm like, oh my God, this is our life as a waiter. This is a love letter to waiters. We have to do this right. When you get a script like that, you don't want missing pieces. And when you shoot a movie in 15 days, there's a great chance that you're going to miss things. And thankfully, with Michael and Sean Buckley, who's another producer on board, to have them behind me, kind of helping me keep track of everything. The difference between doing a music video and a film is there's just more story to cover, and you really want to be able to let the actors play more. And I love doing music videos. They're one day.
Yeah.
You know, the first thing I did when I finished Servitude was I picked up the phone and called my music video clients and said, "I'm ready. Anything. You know, one day, whatever you got." And I would go off and shoot a music video.
Is it like a break from?
It's a sprint, whereas a film is a marathon.
Okay.
And you really are in the trenches with the entire cast and crew to create the best story possible. And it's not just the 15 days. Like, he's been living with the script since 1999.
Yep.
That's a marathon. That's a long distance marathon.
Yeah.
Have you been trying to get it produced?
I mean, I wrote it, I considered getting it produced, and then a movie called Waiting went into production, and I thought, this might sound a little similar. So you know what?
You know, the funny thing is,
Backburner.
I'm surprised there's not more.
So many
waiter
people do this
movies
for a
out there.
living.
I
Like,
know.
How many people play professional baseball versus waiters?
And there's how many
like
baseball
tons
movies?
Of them. But we have this theory, right? Our theory is that if you've written a script, as all waiters who want to be writers have, and you don't want to hand it to people because as your first script, because people are like, oh, so you're a waiter. It's like, no, I'm not writing from experience. Oh,
Yeah.
then we don't want to read something that's not from experience. Okay, so I am a waiter.
yeah.
It's like, and then once you become something, you don't want to hand over your waitering script because you look back and you just want to put those nightmares behind you, you know, sort of thing.
But I think, I mean, the script is so funny that we were at the right time in our careers where, and especially with Comedy Lab. I mean, Comedy Lab was really, really instrumental in getting this film made in that it allowed us the platform to develop it and get the right people, get
Yeah.
their eyes on it.
Yeah.
And without, you know, Telefilm coming on board to instigate this, we still might be developing a little bit. But we got the green light. We went out and did it, and it was, I don't know, it was a great experience. And I think, you know, I'm fortunate to be able to do both feature films and music videos, and now some television. And I just like directing. I like being on the floor.
What do you guys have planned next? I guess you're still focusing on getting the movie out there as much as possible.
Yeah, it's a fall release here in Canada, so audiences we've tested the movie, and obviously tonight's the big test. This is when we have the full house, and people really...
Yeah, come on out tonight.
Yeah, come on tonight. I mean, it's seeing it with an audience, it's a
try.
very different feeling. I mean, it really, truly is one of those good feelings in a movie theater, like when you remember thinking back to seeing like American Pie and stuff like that, where you're just like, wow, I really laughed my ass off.
Yeah.
We've got that little film, you know, and we're really happy to share that with Canadians and have them change their minds about what they think Canadian comedy is.
Okay. Thanks for talking, you guys.
Hey, no, thanks for having us. Hey, and go Concordia.
Yeah, go Concordia. And
Go, go, go.
Yeah, come to the movie tonight.
Come to the movie tonight, just for laughs.
For
Cinema
CTV,
Department.
this is Alex Moffat.
Okay, so now we're looking at a horror film at Fantasia.
What?
It's weird, right? But the funny thing is, it is kind of weird because it's an atypical horror movie, at least by today's standards, because Horror movies nowadays kind of suck, and this one doesn't. This is The Innkeepers. It's a ghost movie. It's a completely unironic, no tongue-in-cheek, no deconstruction, dead serious ghost movie, like a haunted house movie. It isn't doing any of this stupid postmodern crap where it's trying to deconstruct the genre or being ironic about it. It's just about a haunted house, and it's terrifying. I was so legitimately scared by this movie, and at the same time in awe that it was just being so wonderfully honest about it.
Well, you say a haunted house, technically a haunted motel.
Same thing. Shut up.
But anyway, we should bring up Ty West is the director of
Yes.
this film, and his previous film, The House of the Devil, I think is a great film. And with that, you're mentioning this throws away the kind of deconstructionist elements and whatnot. But that film was very much, it was an homage to 80s American horror, because it has the title cards, the period setting. And at the same time, its pacing is incredibly European and slow. And those, to me, those elements combined made what I thought was actually an art film in kind of genre clothing. And this, it is slow-paced in a way.
Oh, yeah,
but I
for
think
sure.
in another way, it's more, I'd almost call it affable. Like, it's very just low-key.
It's got a lot of comedic elements, too.
It's just low-key. It's not slow necessarily to build tension, but just to, like, get you into these characters.
Yeah, and that's one of the huge strong points of this movie, I find, is especially the two main characters, the titular innkeepers, have a really great chemistry going on. It focuses more on the female lead, who I should say is adorable. Oh my god, I was crushing on that girl. But yeah, both of the characters really well written and well defined and well acted. And the fact that the characters were so strong is, I think, a huge part of what made this movie legitimately scary, because I was actually concerned for them a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I think in a way, still though, that Ty West is doing an interesting thing with this in terms of commentary, because I think there's a scene early on. It's a great character moment too, but where he shows her like an online video.
Yeah.
And I think in a way, like that's a great scene on its own. But I think in a way too, it's almost him commenting on the idea of jump scares.
Yeah.
Because there is a few in this movie.
There are
but
a couple, but mostly the film is creating tension through atmosphere and score and sound design, and like without resorting to that kind of cheap, you know, jump out and go boo type of scare, which is something that horror relies on a lot nowadays, and I kind of hate, because it's cheap. It isn't horror so much as just startling.
Exactly. And like I said, this movie, it's like a comedy first, horror second almost.
Yeah.
But not like a goofy, broad comedy.
No, it's comedy through well-defined characters who have a lot of good little quips and great dialogue, and yeah, I just can't recommend it enough, especially if you're a fan of old school horror like I am.
The one element I wasn't a huge fan of, this doesn't really detract from the movie huge, but the title cards throughout the movie.
Yeah, they do like chapter titles and stuff. Yeah, it doesn't really add anything. It's not a huge element. It's just sort of there. You feel like if they were to just edit those out, the movie would not be changed at all.
It's just the problem is it makes you feel like maybe it's going in another direction. But again, it's a very minor complaint. This is a very well-made film and very satisfying.
Absolutely. So yeah, Innkeepers, scary. I didn't sleep afterwards. Hi, I'm Thomas O'Connor, and I'm a member of the Church of Cthulhu. Established before the dawn of the human age, the Church of Cthulhu was set in place to worship Cthulhu, the priest of the Great Old Ones, who came to our planet from the world of Yoggoth centuries ago. The Church of Cthulhu brings people together from all walks of life to worship our great squid-headed master. Just listen to these testimonials.
I was born a neoconservative pagan who was dissatisfied with the lack of blood sacrifices in my religion. Since joining the Church of Cthulhu, I've been able to enjoy plenty of high-born virgin sacrifices. Join today. I joined the Church of Cthulhu for the sense of community. I mean, fundraisers, bake sales, raffles, and most importantly, I love a scaly woman.
Place the one marked B67 onto the table. Good. Now connect the tool into the recess. There, on the side. Excellent. Please, connect the other devices as well. Excellent. That will engage the device.
Look, Akeley, I'm not falling for some spectacular parlor trick with a radio.
Nor do we expect you to, Mr. Wilmot. Soon Mr. Akeley and I will leave here on an incredible journey. We hope you will join us.
Even now, I could not repeat the terrible things I heard whispered that evening.
So, Alex, have you accepted Cthulhu as your Lord and Savior?
No.
No, it's too bad. Yeah. Next up, we are reviewing Whisperer in Darkness. It's a new film based on the short story by H.P. Lovecraft, who's one of the, I think, architects of modern horror fiction and sci-fi. He wrote a whole lot of short stories and novellas back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, I think. A lot of stuff about doomsday cults and alien primordial gods, all kinds of fun stuff. So this movie is made by the H.P. Lovecraft Society, which means it's kind of low budget and cheesy. It's trying to look like an old school movie, like 30s, 40s, around the time that the story would have been written.
The issue is it's shot on digital, so
yeah.
it looks very digital as
yeah,
well,
exactly.
in black and white. Lovecraft's stories are often told as like letters to or diary
yeah,
type
he played
form.
with narrative form a lot.
And I feel like that does not lend itself at all to a narrative film. And it's not exactly like a guy writing a letter for 2 hours.
But there is
or reading
some
a letter,
spotty narration.
Yeah, it does. It feels like just really awkward during those moments.
Yeah, I think a big make or break for this movie is your tolerance for a bit of cheese. It's a very cheesy movie. A lot of that is due to the special effects, the low budget, the acting quality. There's not a single professional actor in here. I think they're all just dedicated fans. Some of them can squeak by, others are just ludicrously bad.
Well, the issue is I think that Lovecraft movies books or stories are genuinely scary or genuinely frightening. They're like Edgar Allan Poe type, just like freaky, like paranormal, like just psychological horror stories.
I think
the movie is more like, it is more tongue-in-cheek, more humorous.
I think the problem is that Lovecraft rather, his horror plays a whole lot on fear of the other, of presenting the reader, or in this case the viewer, with something so foreign and alien and bizarre that it creates fear. Now this was a perfectly fine method of horror back when he was writing, because we didn't have, for one thing, the effects technology that we do today, where literally anything we can imagine can be reproduced on the screen. But also, people were still ultimately getting used to the idea that if there is a galactic food chain, so to speak, we're not even in the top 10. And a lot of it was just like, oh my God, aliens!
Well, but I've read some Lovecraft stories, and I was generally frightened by like those stories. Except the movie is just like so campy and so like kind of silly throwback to those B movies that I didn't really care. It wasn't scary at all.
No, I didn't really expect much like scariness going in. These days, whenever I'm reading or watching any Lovecraft material, I tend to approach it more as just a science fiction fantasy type of thing, more than something intended to scare me. So that's probably why I enjoyed it more. I expected something kind of campy and cheesy, not particularly scary, but an interesting couple of hours. And I think it delivered on that regard.
I was bored. It was slow paced. It was doing that throwback thing. It was like doing a throwback to Plan 9 from Outer Space, Ed Wood like type movies, and it's actually as bad as those kinds of movies. And no, I didn't like it at all. So don't see the movie.
I liked it. If you like Lovecraft, go see it.
DVD releases! Yeah!
All right, so my pick for DVDs this week, or rather Blu-rays this week, is the new Blu-ray releases of the classic Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer, which I think are worth it just so you can watch this 6-foot cowman walking around and then giggle to yourself and go, oh my God, they elected him to power. How funny is that?
Infidelity is no laughing matter, Thomas.
Also, if you get Conan the Barbarian, watch the audio commentary. It's something else.
On a similar note, my DVD pick this week is Season 2 of the HBO comedy Eastbound and Down, starring Danny McBride. This show is notable for its very rough humor, its incredibly pompous lead, its 70s throwback style, and many guest stars. I heavily recommend it. It makes me laugh my butt off.
Good save.
Their souls be given to the great Lord.
Will the team survive their horrifying episode with the priest of the great old ones? Will Alex ever stop crying like a little pansy? Will Ethan's balls ever drop? Find out on the next exciting episode of Fade to Black!
Did not look at me at that moment. You could have kept that shot.
We were having a conversation, Alex. Yeah, I know. Having a conversation.
Where do you get off, man?
Yeah, where do you...
What the hell's wrong with you?
What's your, like...
What is your main
back off,
function, son?
Back off, war child.
Yeah, I just hate Aang so much.